All right, Tuesday evening's edition of the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video, Weather for Weather Geeks. What a remarkable stretch of weather we have coming up once we get beyond Wednesday, which will be kind of ho-hum. We'll talk about the building heat and the sunshine for the fair this year, and we'll talk about the tropics, of course, in this video. Hey, we debuted a new camera today. We're really excited about this one. On the eve of the Canfield Fair, we are up and running with great shots of the fairgrounds, and we hope you'll come see us at the WFMJ tent. As always, it's near the grandstand. I will be there on Saturday from 10 to 2 and Sunday from 2 to 6. Stop by, say hi, get an autograph, get a picture, chat us up. Always love talking to all of our viewers and followers at the fair. And so again, I'll be there 10 to 2 Saturday, 2 to 6 on Sunday, and other 21 News personalities will be there throughout the week starting on Thursday and taking us through Labor Day on Monday. So yeah, great looking evening on this new camera looking west here at the fairgrounds, and we'll have more great pictures like that coming up with a sunny forecast from Thursday through Labor Day. In the meantime, today was a seasonable, pretty typical August 29th. 80 was the high today, 54 was the low. That record of 96 in 1991, we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. All right, let's go to the big national weather story, which of course is Idalia, the tropical system, the hurricane, that will be making landfall in about 12 hours or even a little less across the Big Bend of Florida, coming up like this. Now, it's heading into very warm waters. We've seen an increase in recent years of rapid intensification just prior to landfall of tropical systems. That remains a concern with this one because it's heading into water that is between 86 and 92 degrees. And not a lot of wind shear to tear this thing apart. So it's possible not only will this strengthen into a Category 3 overnight, that a Category 4 could be on the table right before landfall. As of this recording, it's a Category 2 with maximum winds of 100 sustained and gusts to 120, pressure down to 972 millibars, and it's about 200 miles to the southwest of Tampa, Florida. Landfall expected, again, right around daybreak tomorrow morning. Now, this is a part of Florida that does not get landfalling hurricanes very often at all. It's hard to find any examples of this in the historical record. So this is kind of a strange path for a hurricane to take upon landfall. And you'll notice the shape of the shoreline here. So there's a whole lot of water that will get fed into this, kind of, is this concave? I think it is. I think that's concave. I have to remember my 4th grade lessons on things like this. But I think that's a concave shape in northwestern Florida. Thankfully, a lot of this area is not really heavily populated. The big population centers are down closer to Tampa, and of course along the beach resorts in the Panhandle. Not as many people live right near where this thing is likely to make landfall. But storm surge will be a big problem, up to 9 to 12 feet or so in a lot of these counties right along the shore. Now, once you get down towards Tampa, this is kind of like a bathtub into Tampa Bay, where this water gets fed in here and has no place to go for a time. There's going to be some issues around Tampa Bay, although the overall storm surge will be held down the farther north and west this eventually tracks. So not looking for huge storm surge impacts once you're down towards Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, places like that, but enough that it can certainly be a little bit of an issue. All right, so the wind field will look like this, generally speaking, according to this run of this model. Well over 100 mile per hour winds along the eye wall as this makes its approach by about 6, 7 in the morning on Wednesday. It'll then weaken over land, and the big question beyond that is, will this take more of a track like this or like this into the Carolinas? Over land, of course, results in a weaker system. It's going to be possible, though, this thing emerges out to sea a little faster, even intensifies some, and is more of a problem for, in terms of wind anyway, for places like Myrtle Beach and Charleston and places like that. One run of one model here, but it gives you a sense as to what's possible. As far as rainfall totals, this will be a more impressive rainmaker in the Carolinas than in Florida because it's not going to spend much time over Florida. But there's going to be a zone, probably just away from the coast, here in North and South Carolina, where a lot of places get a foot of rain, perhaps even more. Back here at home, though, wow. Now, it's going to be a little September preview on Wednesday. Might even be a sprinkle in a couple of spots. Otherwise, just rather cloudy for most of the day. But then the clouds clear out by the nighttime hours, and as high pressure drops an anchor for several days, I mean, hardly a cloud in the sky at all. You might find one cloud, one wispy little cirrus cloud at times, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, and most of the weekend as well. The big story, of course, locally is going to become the heat. Here's our high temperature forecast for the fair starting tomorrow with a high of 68, then 92 by Monday, by Labor Day. Now, it's not going to be particularly humid. This is going to be a fairly dry air mass, so the dew points are not going to be crazy high. This is going to be like a Florida heat necessarily, but it is, as they say, going to be a dry heat. It's going to be hot no matter what. You're going to be walking around the Midway at the fair, doing anything else outdoors by the weekend. Just be prepared to take it pretty easy and stay hydrated, find some shade, and that sort of thing. Common sense applies, but you know, this is a pattern we have not seen very often this summer, where you have more troughing in the west and a ridge almost centered over us. We haven't seen a ridge kind of centered over the lower Ohio Valley really all summer. It's been mostly centered in the southwest, and occasionally it's migrated into the upper Midwest. But having it centered right here, that's not been the story in the summer of 2023. So there's a chance that we're going to have the hottest weather overall of the entire summer late this weekend and early on next week. It's also going to be a remarkably dry start to September. Aside from a renegade sprinkle tonight and perhaps into Wednesday, bone dry through at least Tuesday of next week, if not Wednesday of next week. Not a drop of rain expected at this point other than that renegade sprinkle possibility tonight and into tomorrow. So it's like a total pattern flip compared to a very active month of August. We're going to finish the month in some places with 7, 8, 9 inches worth of rain for the month. Now at the airport the number has not been that high, but it's been a pretty wet, unusually wet month of August across our area. We'll do a recap of August's weather. We'll talk about the overall September forecast, and we'll talk more about the full moon that's coming up tomorrow into tomorrow night, and other interesting things to look at in the sky, and other interesting factoids about what you can expect coming up. Maybe a little dry run for the eclipse in April coming up in the next couple weeks, and I say that because the sun will be kind of in a similar spot in the sky as it will be in early April around eclipse time next year. So we'll talk about those subjects in this quiet stretch coming up in the next week or so here on Weather for Weather Geeks. In the meantime, thank you for watching on this Tuesday night. I will see you right back here on Wednesday.